Supervisor and Town Board, Robert Ripp, Mass Speaker, New York. I've come up the last couple of times, I've taken interest in the cleanups, and I have a couple concerns I'd like to share with you. I think they're pretty valid. I'd like to speak about the town's two trains of thought on these cleanups. One is, I don't want to say the town's, but what I want to say is possible fiscal irresponsibility on how we're doing this. Since 2007, the town has done 250, well actually you voted on 250 resolutions to recoup the cost of doing these cleanups. In 2007, we did one the whole year. In 2008, we did 6. 2009, we did 22. 2010, we did 47. 2011, we did 37. 2012, we did 57. 2013 dropped off, we only did 5. 2015, we did 53.
How about 214, Mr. Rick?
I'm sorry.
214.
Today? 17, sorry, thank you, Mr. McInerney, thank you very much. 17 and 214, 215, 53, and I think we're up to 7 this year. Out of the properties that we've cleaned up, one we've cleaned up 6 times, one we've cleaned up 5 times, 3 we've cleaned up 4 times, 4 we've cleaned up 3 times, and actually the 2 we're doing today and another 10 we're cleaning up twice. It seems that, and don't get me wrong, because I'm all for cleaning up the properties. I just think that it could be done a little bit of a better way. From what I attempted to use the town's website to access the tax information on these properties. It's very inconvenient because you're only allowed to look up 2 properties, and I called, and I understand that there are computers for public use here at Town Hall that a resident can come up and view, because it's public information, view all the properties you want, but it's not available online. But in any case, from the information that I could see, it appears that the average cleanup is around $1,000. So we're talking about $250,000. And the properties that I was able to research are still in arrears. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to keep cleaning up, and then never get the money back. And my opinion, because these properties are getting repeatedly cleaned up, I think possibly that they're not being monitored correctly, and nobody's really keeping track whether we have money coming back in or what's being done with them. I think they're just being cleaned up, signed off, sent up to the county assessors, and then we're just letting it lay out there. We discussed it before, there are better ways, in my opinion, to do this. I mean, it's another, I'm getting into my second thing, but the town codes are all classified as, they're unclassified misdemeanors, they're crimes, they're not violations. If somebody, if the complaint is made on the property and a code enforcement inspector goes out, somebody lives in the property, actually, let me just explain what I'm going to. This more or less has to do with what I think is a lack of legal authority to do what we're doing. The codes are misdemeanors. If a code enforcement agent responds to a property and the people live there and it's unkept, they're issued a summons. They get 10 days to come in compliance. If they don't come in compliance, they're issued a notice of violation, my mistake. They get 10 days to come into compliance. If they don't come into compliance, they get issued a summons. And then they go to court, and there's a court order. If the town is made aware, let's say, for instance, of somebody's doing an illegal construction, illegal dormer, code enforcement shows up, they can't just make the people stop. You have to go to court, you have to get a court order. Okay, what I don't understand is, according to the resolutions, the chapter of the code that you're using here is Chapter 135, housing standards. And somehow, the town is now able to, based on an observation of garbage and refuse, height of vegetation, various subdivisions, it tells you the lawn's over 8 inches, whatever, but my point is, 135-54 compliance and 135-53 notice of violation, somehow the town has given itself the authority here to issue a notice of violation, which I've observed both of them, they're completely different documents. They give the respondent 5 days. Okay, first of all, the notice of violation, it can be issued, tacked to the door. It's a vacant property. Okay, so they put it to the door and it gets sent out to the last known address. There should be an affidavit of service, but in all probability, the last known address is the vacant property. Okay, so 5 days later, the town goes in and cleans up. No court order, no legal authority to do it. I think this is a big issue here. If God forbid, if these 250 people got together and decided to do some sort of class action suit against the town, there might be some ramifications in this. I don't understand the difference if the property's occupied and the property's vacant, why there are two different code enforcement procedures going on. Getting back to a better way to do it financially, you know, there are a number of banks now that have voluntarily put themselves on a list through Department of Financial Services in New York State. You know, they're responsible, they admit they're responsible. The fact of the matter is that everyone in the state, the governor, the attorney general, they're trying to make it easier for the municipalities. Instead of just, I mean, quite frankly, if we contacted the bank and we said, hey, listen, we're going to clean up, we're going to go in there and clean it up, and you're going to get a violation, you're going to go to court, they'd be cleaning the property up. We wouldn't have to clean it up. There's one other point that I was naming these properties here, and I don't understand this, but and I got this information from reviewing past resolutions. The town has cleaned up 8 commercial properties. I mean, I have no idea why we would be cleaning up commercial property. I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. So I would just like to ask that you take a better look at this. You know, I just think, you know, it's not, in my opinion, it's not just here. It's everywhere. You know, zombie houses are everywhere. The state is the governor and the attorney general trying to help everybody out. But I think we have to change what we're doing, and actually, even properties, the way that they're handled. I mean, there is one reason why the town, in my opinion, why the town would be able to go right in and do this, and that's if it was considered an emergency. Okay, but if it was an emergency, there's a whole section code, there's a whole separate section, Code 96, which deals with dangerous buildings, which again lays out a whole, you know, system, a whole procedure that's supposed to be followed. I don't understand how we're cleaning up the properties, but yet we're not securing them, we're not putting the red X, we're not following our own code. And all we're doing is we're maintaining these properties, and let's be honest, if there's a vacant property in a neighborhood and it just looks like a regular house, it's just a den for vandalism, for drug abuse, for, you know, that's not what we're supposed to be doing. For what it's costing us to clean a property 5 or 6 times, it could have been demolished already. So I just wanted to give you the information, and hopefully maybe you'll take a look at it, and maybe we could, or maybe you would consider changing the system on how we're doing this. And again, you know, it just strikes me from the legal aspect, I don't really get how you could even do it without a court order or a legal ramification in some means. But that's what I have to say about the cleanups. So, thank you.
All right, thanks, Bob. Thank you. We'll certainly be guided by what you said.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alcantara?
Motion made.